Hello and welcome to the Arizona Wildcats Report. I'm Michael Lev with the Arizona Daily Star. This is Zack Rosenblatt, my colleague. We're at Arizona Stadium where earlier tonight the Arizona Wildcats defeated Northern Arizona, that's a lot of Arizonas, Zack, 62-24 in the season opener. Zack, I would say this was a game that had a lot of positives and a lot of negatives as well. Let's start with one of the positives, okay? For the second time in a row, Arizona rushed for more than 500 yards in a game. Apparently that's never happened in the history of the school, which is pretty incredible. Kind of slow to get things going a little bit, but once they did, man, it was really impressive.
Yeah, they were a little sluggish in the first quarter. You kind of expect that in the first game in general. I think we'll focus on the positive right now, as that's what we said we're doing. But yeah, the running backs look really good, top to bottom. Nick Wilson looked healthy. They took him out pretty quickly to rest him, I'm assuming. J.J. Taylor had some flashes, and Nathan Tilford at the end. It was against reserves and stuff, but he looked really good. And then Brandon Dawkins, if there's anything we didn't question, is his ability to run the football, and he showed that. He's
a breathtaking runner as a quarterback, but the passing game, again, was just kind of so-so. This game was similar in some ways to the Territorial Cup, not quite as extreme.
Yeah.
They only had 77 yards and 3 completions in that game. Tonight they had 7 completions and 89 yards, but they took some shots downfield, didn't hit them. The timing seemed to be a little bit off. So a lot of people going into that Houston game, I think, are going to question if they have to pass the ball, can they?
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like we don't leave this game feeling any clearer about where the passing game is at. If anything, from when he passed the ball early in the game, it felt like when he was passing the ball last year. It's the first game, so it's just hard to judge, and the team they're going against. So next week's going to be a huge test. We've talked about that all year. That Houston's going to be the moment of the season.
It really is. I think the most positive thing to come out of the passing attack was that Tony Ellison had the best game of his career. He had 5 catches for 79 yards.
A spring football hero.
A spring football hero. A lot of times those spring heroes, they never get it done in the regular season, but he did. Included in that 79 yards was a 43-yard catch and run. Really impressive performance. But let's swing things over to the defense, Zack. Rich Rod was not happy about the defense's performance after the game. Yes, they did take the ball away 3 times, but they allowed 562 yards to Northern Arizona, which is, an FCS team, let's face it. NAU had 92 plays. They converted 10 of 19 third downs, which is a problem that carried over from last year. What did you see when you were watching the defense tonight, and how can they get better heading into week 2?
A few things that stood out. They do have a young secondary, and you saw kind of in some of the pass coverage where that's kind of shown through. Lorenzo Burns, people forget he's still a freshman technically. This was his first ever game. He struggled a little bit. And their defensive linemen are just smaller than you kind of want. You can still see that. Derek Bowles is big, but just as a group, it's just kind of a small group, and they can get pushed around when they're playing against bigger players, I think. But yeah, they showed flashes of good stuff. They forced 3 turnovers. Demetrius Flanagan-Bowles had 2 of them. And if you're going to have a lot of mistakes, then you hope that you make up for that a little bit by forcing some turnovers.
As you mentioned, Lorenzo Burns basically playing on defense in a game for the first time in his college career.
Played almost every snap. Yeah.
And he played a lot. Sammy Morrison played a lot at corner. He hadn't played in a game at all since 2015, so maybe he was a little rusty. The thing that concerned me the most watching them tonight was, once again, the cornerbacks are having a difficult time locating the ball on balls thrown down the field. I don't know if it's a technique thing, an instinct thing, but to me, you're supposed to read the receiver. Like when he gives you some sort of indication with his hands or his eyes, you should be turning around and locating the ball, and they're still having trouble in that area. One more thing I want to talk about, and that is a positive, and that's special teams.
Oh, yeah.
We saw Lucas Haversick kick off 10 times, 9 of them went for touchbacks, and the first big punt return touchdown of the season, the first one they've had since 2015.
A good one too.
A really good one by Sean Brown. What is the impact of that? How can that help this team going forward?
I thought it was interesting. Sean mentioned that the coaches talk about they want to get 2 big special teams plays every game, and it really could be the difference. They didn't have 2 all of last season. They had 1 return that was over 30 yards last year, and I think Sean Brown on that 1 play had more punt return yards than they had all of last season.
He did.
That helps you in field position, which in turn helps even if you go 3 and out, that in turn helps the defense because then they're not in as bad of a position. We didn't really see that many punts, so we don't really know how that part of the equation is. But Tyrell Johnson looked great on kick returns. We've always known he had the speed to break through for something, and he almost scored a touchdown today. So that's really it is NAU. We have to hedge the bet a little bit. and we'll find out again next week how it looks. But it's very promising. Sean Brown looked very explosive.
He did, and so did Tyrell Johnson. He did have a touchdown on an end around. It's nice to see TJ getting into the mix again. A team like Arizona needs to make big plays on special teams because they're just not going to be as good as some of the teams they play on offense and defense. All right, that's our show for tonight. Thank you for watching. You can check out Zach's work and my work at Tucson.com, as well as the new Wildcaster app. Download it. It's free. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe to our podcast, too, the Wildcast.
That, too. See you next time.